It's very appropriate to be talking about conquering as we're graduating soldiers. This is a military graduation. This graduation has to do with the commissioning of officers and ambassadors and military personnel to go out and to finish the work. That's what schools of evangelism are all about. And I want to thank each of you for having completed the course and having dedicated your life to as officers in the special forces of God's army. Now, conquering is something that some personalities like more than others. I always ask the Lord, Lord, let me at least conquer one country. I want to go in and I want to fill an entire country with the light of the gospel. And I want to penetrate into the darkest areas. That was my dream. My in-laws were missionaries. My parents were missionaries. And I inherited a bilingual background, Spanish and English. And I wanted to use what I received and multiply it even further. So I asked the Lord for conquering. But I discovered there's different ways to conquer. And in Revelation 6, we read about, as the seals are open, we have 4 horses that go forth. The first horse is a white horse. And as we read a little earlier, we see mounted on the white horse a man with a bow and a crown, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. I don't know if the audio went down or is it okay? It's okay. Okay. Went forth conquering and to conquer. There's no retreating. There's no partial conquering. There's no half conquering. The only thing that happens is total conquering. When Jesus died on the cross, apparently there was defeat. Apparently his enemies succeeded in killing him. Apparently his arch enemy, the devil, succeeded. But at the moment of his death, when he said, into thy hands I commit my spirit, talking to his heavenly Father, at that moment, a loud cry of victory was heard in heaven because the conqueror had conquered. Now here on earth, let us look back a few years, and we can imagine the scene just a few hundred years ago. We can imagine martyrs dying for their faith. 30 million martyrs died for what they believed. Through the persecution of the Middle Ages, the Spanish Inquisition, 30 million. Now, that's not a small number. That's bigger than some countries, entire countries. But I look at their lives and I ask myself, did they conquer or did they fail? At the moment of death, every one of those martyrs sealed the victory in the blood of the Lamb. They were sealed forever. No longer to be tempted, no longer to be tried, no longer to risk defeat. They conquered. I was in Peru, in Lima, Peru, the capital city, where the Spanish Inquisition had a base. There is, in the plaza, a large building right next to the Palace of Justice. There is a large building called the Inquisition. And tourists are allowed to go there. And over the years, I worked for 10 years in Peru, and I'm living in Bolivia now. I go back frequently. Every once in a while, I go back for a visit. And it's interesting how the story has changed. 20 years ago, the tour guides would take you down and show you all of the instruments of torture. And they would tell you that Christian martyrs, Jews, and native peoples that had the Inca religion that were not Christian were arrested, tortured, and killed in this building. They show a big cathedral, a big building where they took the criminals in, the accused ones, and they would stand there in front of a table where three priests were sitting, and through a little hole in the door, no need to identify the accuser, just enough to hear the accusation, you could hear somebody speak to the hole and accuse them of crimes. And then the judges would turn to the crucifix sitting behind the judges, where there was a large Christ hanging, and they would ask the Christ, is this person guilty of death? And the Christ on the wall would nod its head, guilty of death. And then the tour guide would take you around the table and show you the cable that they were pulling. And the tour guide would tell you that these people were innocent, but they were tortured and killed for their belief. Today, if you go to the same building, you hear a very different story. Today, you hear nothing of religious persecution. You hear that these were all criminals. And that today, the last time I went, they say we should repeat these things because criminals deserve what they get. And with so much violence and crime in the world today, we need to once again institute similar punishment. Of course, I raised my hand and I said, I object. Why are you changing the story? The Spanish Inquisition had nothing to do with crimes against the state. It had everything to do with religious persecution. Well, yes, but I've been told to say that. Well, please stop lying to the tourists. Once again, the wicked head of persecution is raising in many areas. And even today, there is religious persecution and death. There is slavery, physical slavery in many places. Even today, in the land of freedom, the freedoms are rapidly disappearing. The laws are changing. What God needs is people that will stand for the truth though the heavens fall. What God needs are conquerors that are willing to be faithful even unto death. Revelation chapter 2 and 3 discuss, Jesus himself gave 7 messages to 7 churches. And it's interesting to note that only 2 of them actually describe a church that is totally acceptable to God with no criticism whatsoever. In chapter 2, verse 8, we find a message to Smyrna, a literal city, but representing a time period of intense persecution from 100 AD to 313 AD, a time when Christians were being massacred in the large colosseums, and a sentence of death was placed on all Christians. But it finishes, be thou faithful unto death, verse 10, and I will give thee a crown of life. No criticism, only encouragement. Did they conquer? Absolutely, because they get a crown. On the moment of death, they are assigned a crown. Now, I don't know if you've ever have you ever imagined what type of crown you would get? But the type of crown that heaven gives is a very beautiful crown. No monarch on earth has ever received a crown so beautiful. It is an eternal crown. And in fact, as we grow up in eternity, as we gain stature, our initial parents, Adam and Eve, were of beautiful design. The most beautiful woman ever in the world was our mother Eve. And no wonder after 6,000 years of sin and destruction, we still have beautiful women. So you can imagine what the original was. If we still have beautiful women today, it's because our mother Eve was immensely beautiful. And I can imagine the first time Eve was presented to Adam, his heart almost stopped. No woman has ever been so beautiful as our mother Eve. And undoubtedly, our father Adam was so handsome and well-built that 6,000 years of deterioration, and we still have people that look handsome today. I would say I'm one of the skinny ones that don't look so handsome. In Spanish, sometimes my friends call me el químico. That means the chemist. And I say, why? Because you have nothing of physico. But I'm looking forward someday to God restoring me a body like I should have. I like to run, and I'm glad I'm thin. I'd rather be thin than too heavy, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I can see that I could do, God has a lot of repair work to do. In any case, I thank Lord for my lovely wife that has a lot of her mother Eve in her, that can look past all the skinniness and to see somebody nice inside. Conquering is more than just conquering a country. It is living according to the plan that God has for you. If you live according to the plan that God has designed for you, even from before you were born, you will be considered a conqueror. But even more so, if you bring other people with you. And you have trained to reach other people with God's love. You have trained in ways to touch people's lives, to touch the hurting, to rescue those that are in desperate darkness and looking for answers. I have had my share of darkness. I have been hijacked. I have been imprisoned. I have been beaten with clubs. And in those moments of desperation and pain, the one overpowering memory that I have is that God was with me. The one thing I remember is not the pain. I remember God's presence at my side. And then as we look at the martyrs that gave their life, the young ladies that were burned at the stake, older men that were torn by lions. How could they do that? Where did they get the force? And I would like to propose to you that at the moment that you need strength, God will be there to give it to you. And I can tell you by personal testimony that God was there at my side during those moments of pain. There is nothing to fear what man can do for the body. We must fear what man can do to the soul. God has given us a beautiful job to do, and it's about conquering. Some conquer by laying down their lives, but there's another group. It's a group of Philadelphia, the sixth church of the seven. In chapter 3 of Revelation, in verse 7, you have the message begins to Philadelphia, but it ends further down, and I would like to focus a little bit on verse 12. To him that overcometh, I will make a pillar in the temple of my house, and he will go in and out no more. And I will write upon him my new name, and the name of the new Jerusalem, which is the city of God, which descends out of heaven from my God. And I will write upon him my new name, the name of the Father, the new Jerusalem, and my new name. Jesus is speaking here. 3 names. These people do not lay down their lives as martyrdom. They live through the difficult time ahead, and they reflect God's character perfectly, and they follow the Lamb everywhere he goes. So there's 2 groups. Some gain victory through laying down their lives. Others gain victory by living a life totally surrendered. I have a chance as I travel as a pilot. I go to many countries. My wife has been my co-pilot for 35 years. There's nothing better than having your favorite person in the world be your co-pilot. We fly, we take turns. She flies, I sleep. When we fly all night, I sleep. No. She flies, I sleep. And then I sleep and she flies. And then we take turns, and then she sleeps while I fly, and then sometimes we both sleep. But the autopilot is very good, and you can't really sleep anyway. The tower calls you at any moment, you have to answer, or you get in trouble. So you can doze, and you can scan, and you can close your eyes, but you have to be ready to answer anytime they call. They say, climb, descend, turn left to this heading, and you have to answer, and you have to be able to respond. What's your estimate? You have to give an estimate. In any case, my wife and I travel through a lot of countries, and in the process meet a lot of people, and we have learned something. We have learned that there are a lot of people in the world that are struggling with very difficult problems. Depression, fear is a problem worldwide. And what a wonderful blessing it is when we can turn to them and share our positive, without a doubt, confidence that our Heavenly Father is surrounding, protecting, and providing. He can give them the same. Since I've been a prisoner, I hate prisons. Since I've been assaulted, I hate people getting hurt. Since I have been beaten, I am always on the alert for those that are at risk. And I ask the Lord specially to give me an opportunity to set people free. So we have a large prison program in Bolivia. They have 5 large prisons inside of a big prison yard. There are a certain group of prisoners over here, women's prisons and men's prisons, and each of them have their own little walls, and some are high security and some are less security, medium security. The sad thing is that the children, what if the parents or the only mother is in prison? Well, the children live in prison too. And the children come and go by themselves, sometimes in and out of prison. Sometimes they're abused by the guards. Sometimes they're abused by people outside because they have no adult to protect them. So we also provide services for the children of prisoners. But one of the most wonderful things that we do is people that are in prison unjustly and people who have already served their sentences, but there's no judge to order them to be set free. They've already served all their years. But unless you pay the judge, he won't set you. You can't leave. You have to have money. The system is corrupt. And so we go and intervene on behalf of these people, and there's a constant stream of people that we're taking out of the prisons. We recently had a few ladies from Philippines, another one from Kenya, and another one from Tanzania, and then we had another one from Thailand that we were able to work with and finally get released. And their governments, we met with their ambassadors and their representatives, and they were able to get a ticket to go back home. It is our joy to do that. I just love that. Every time somebody goes free, I just feel great. Yes, another one. Unfortunately, some people aren't very safe on the outside, and they would rather be in prison. And we have those too, because they know that they're out of control. And if they're released from prison, they will kill somebody else or hurt somebody else. So for them, we must take care of them inside of prison. And we introduce them to Jesus Christ, and we introduce them to a trade so they can make a living. And we have to build dorms. If we don't build dorms for them, they have to sleep on the street. Now remember, the inside of the prison is like a little city. There's no police. There's no protection. And if you sleep out on the street, you're apt to get robbed, killed, and raped. So you have to be protected, and you have to have doors, even in prison. So we have to build dorms, and we give them a place to sleep, and we lock the gate every day, and then they work during the daytime, and they learn different skills. But it's a constant challenge, because our ladies that are in charge of there always get threatened with closing everything if they don't pay money here and money there, and they won't pay anybody anything. But our lady in charge, she's blind, and she's a wonderful lady. She's actually the treasurer of our television network in Bolivia. Can you imagine a treasurer being blind? So she has an assistant with her, and every time she goes, I give her the money. I give the money physically to the blind lady, and then she turns and she says, "What do I have in my hand?" to her assistant. And she pays all the bills, and she deals with everything. I don't even deal with it. I just give her the money, and she deals with it. God has given us the opportunity to be part of a massive rescue system. A rescue system that will take out of this earth all those that have been enslaved by Satan if they will accept the light of the gospel. And one of the best ways I've discovered is media. Health work with airplanes, medical workers, and going into villages. But media does something interesting. There are places buildings you can't go into because there's a guard outside and they won't let you walk into the compound. Then once you get into the compound, you have a key to get into the building. And then when you get into the building, you have to have a key to go up the elevator. And then when you get off the elevator, you have to get a key to get into your door. There's so many keys and locks, you could never go in and give a Bible study. You could never offer literature. You could never say, I'm just here to see how I can help and pray with you. You can't even get into the compound. That's where media comes in. Television and radio bypass all the controls. Internet bypasses all the controls and goes right into the house where people are hurting. And you have beautiful music. The ambassador from Germany called us some years ago and said, I am German. I do not believe in God. I have no religion. But I just called to thank you because we have discovered something about your television network. We have discovered that whenever we turn your television network on and all that beautiful music comes into our homes with all the nature, we have discovered that there's a light that turns on in our home. And the tensions disappear. And we smile at each other and we like each other. But if we turn it off, a darkness creeps in and we have tensions and arguments. So we leave your station on from the time we get up to the time we go to bed. And I just called to say thank you. I don't believe all the things that I hear, but we listen to them anyway. Because we don't dare turn it off. That was a wonderful testimony. And then a few days later, the head of psychiatry called us and said, I called to say thank you. Because of your station, 100% of all my depression patients are healed. Because I just give them a prescription. I'm thinking in Spanish, a receipt, a receta, a receipt. I give them a prescription, and I tell them, if you want healing, you can only watch this station. And all of them are healed through your music. And we do group therapy. We go out with a big screen. We turn on and we watch your station. Now, you see, God wants to heal all of us and make us into fountains of blessing for others. And we are to receive and give. It says, freely have received, freely we should give. So how much should we charge those that we serve? I ask myself, how much did Jesus charge those that he served? Did the disciples ever charge for healing anybody? Did Jesus ever charge? No. So we are called to go into all the world, to preach the gospel to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. We are told that Jesus spent more time healing than preaching. And that is to be the way we do it. We are to go do healing. We are to learn health, methods of health, and to help people. It doesn't matter how rich you are. I knew a very wealthy man that everybody was jealous of until he got cancer. And once he got cancer, nobody was jealous of him. Nobody was willing to switch places with him because he was dying. And he died a few months later. You see, health is worth everything. You will give everything you have to recover your health if you are losing it. And the people of every socioeconomic level, from the top down, all need healing. Be it mental healing from stress and tensions. You know, I remember I was in Peru and I heard the news one day. I remember, some of you that are older, do you remember a man called Onassis? The Greek tycoon? He married Mrs. Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy, JFK's wife. Anyway, he had a daughter called Christina, the wealthiest woman in the world. She had islands, she had ships, she had helicopters, she had everything that money can buy except happiness. And one day she came down to Argentina and she decided, life was not worth living. She committed suicide. And yet here we are all over the world chasing money, chasing things. Rich people, poor people alike have one need: peace and happiness. And God has given us that. And you know what? As soldiers, you have a special protection. If your life is in order, if your life is totally consecrated to God, if your life is pure, you don't bring the world's music into your home. No. You don't bring the world's literature, novels, movies, the world's dress, the world's food. You don't bring it into your home. You know why? Because you have declared war on Satan. You have declared war on his captives to rescue them. You have declared war on evil, and therefore you need protection. We are surrounded by evil things in the world, but you need protection, and the way to get protection, and you can be perfectly surrounded at all times, the way to get protection is to live according to God's word. Fill your mind with God's word. Keep the world out. You don't need soap operas. You don't need the world's dress. You don't need the world's novels and stories and literature. You don't need what the world offers at all. Those that love the world are enemies of God. You are to be enemies of evil. You are to confront evil with no fear. You are to take out the enemy and rescue the slaves. And God will bless you. Just remember, you are perfectly protected. I lost the fear of attacks, and I made a deal with the Lord. If ever I see anybody being assaulted, if ever I see somebody being hurt, I will intervene. And I don't care if it's a gang, 20 against 1. I will intervene. Me with my skinny body, am surrounded by holy angels that nobody can touch me without God's permission. I know that. I've been rescued by angels before. And because I know I'm perfectly surrounded, then that means no evil can touch you. And if no evil can touch you, it is our responsibility to go into the most dangerous parts of the world. I frequently land in places where the guerrillas are. They're 17-year-old young people that have that have all of their bullets across their chest, machine guns, and they've been killing people since they were slicing necks since they were 10 years old. And I fly into those places, and I'm looking at death right in the face. In Trinidad and Tobago, one time I had a man that was living up in the woods. He was a very big man, and he did not like white men. And I made it my goal to capture his loyalty. So I was just nice to him, and he kept always angry at me. And one day, one Sabbath afternoon, as I was walking down, there he was. And I sat down next to him. He said, "White man, get out of my presence." He said, "I'm your friend, and I want to be here." "You're not my friend. I'll cut off your head." If you have to cut off my head for me to prove that I'm your friend, then cut off my head. He got his machete out, and he went right over my head. I said, "Lord, please." I'm not moving. I turned to him and said, "You think I'm going to run from you? I'm going to run from my friend? I'm not running. Do what you want to. I am going to cut off your head." There was right over my head. And I said, "You can cut my head, but you know what? I'm still going to have you as a friend." He put that machete away, that cutlass they call it there, put it away, and he said, "You are the first man that's not afraid of me." I said, "Why would I be afraid of my friend?" From then on, we were close friends. And he said, "You are the first white man and the only white man I have ever had as a friend." And I said, I just appreciate that because I really value you. And God has a plan for your life. But see, I had to risk my life. I had to risk my life in order to break that barrier. And I do that all the time. And I want to tell you, I'm not afraid of dying. And people have called on the phone to threaten my life. And they say, "If you come back, you are dead." And I tell them, "Sorry, you're talking to the wrong person." "What? Aren't you that pilot? Aren't you that nurse pilot, pastor pilot? Isn't your name Дейвид Гейтс?" "Yes." "But you're talking to the wrong person." "Why?" "You can't kill me." "What? I'm dead already." "You're dead what?" I said, "I died to self. I'm dying to self every day. I'm learning to die to self. I haven't perfectly learned that. I'm praying that God will teach me that someday. But I died. Paul said I die daily. You have to die to self and put others first. So if I'm dead already, you can't kill me. And they get confused and they hang up the phone. You see, once you give your heart to the Lord, you're dead. If you've been baptized, you're dead. Because you're dead to the old man or the old woman, and you're raised into a new life. That's why it's so wonderful to have baptized by immersion. It's a symbol of death and resurrection. And God invites you to stay constantly in His presence. In 1972, I believe, might have been 78, but in the 70s, there was an article like all the nation of North America heard the news. A lady by the name of Kitty was coming home to her apartment in the city of New York. A man assaulted her, and over 100 people watched as she was stabbed to death 106 times. Nobody intervened, and nobody called the police. They just watched as she died because they were afraid of getting involved. I determined that is never going to happen to me. If anybody needs my help, I will risk my life to do that. There was a man walking home one day. He was a Christian, and it was a normal day, but it was late. So he decided to take a shortcut to the woods, to the forest. And as he was going to the forest, rather getting dark, and he was hurrying to the dark forest, he heard a scream. He heard a young lady say, "Help!" And he heard a rough voice say, "Shut up!" Boom! And she goes, "Help!" His initial reaction was, I better not get involved. If I get involved, I could get hurt. But the Holy Spirit spoke to his heart and said, "You can't leave. That person, that young lady is in trouble. You have to do something." So, "Lord, help me." He got his courage up, and he got closer, and he said, "Who are you? Do you need help?" And immediately there was a rough action, and some half-dressed man ran off into the trees, and he ran and shouted, and the assailant left. Behind the bushes there was some young lady hiding, and he said, "Ma'am, excuse me, do you need help?" Silence. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Are you okay? Do you need help? And then a voice came out of the bush. Daddy, is that you? What would have happened if he would have left to protect himself? He would have read the next morning in a newspaper that his daughter had been attacked and killed. Was he glad that he intervened? It was his own daughter. I would like to propose to you that everybody in the world is your family. It's not, this is my family and that's them. No. We are all family. What happens to somebody in Africa, South America, Asia, it's just like if they happen to you. What would you like somebody to do for your wife or child if they were suffering? Would you like them to intervene to help? Then you need to do the same. Part of the special forces, part of the training that you get is that you go from here with a badge saying the special forces for the Lord Jesus. And you are to intervene to save those that need your help, regardless of the cost to you. If you give your life for others, you will also receive back. But God is not looking for people to die for him today so much as he's looking for people to live for him. And you've been called to live. And if anybody else is hearing today and watching on the streaming or will watch this later, or anybody here today, I would like to invite you to make that commitment in your heart to your Creator. He has a plan for your life. He has a beautiful plan of conquest to use you to touch others' lives with his love. That's what you're called for, and it will be the greatest joy. You know that a salary, money today that can't make you happy. Doesn't matter how much they pay you. I've talked to Bill Gates twice. Sometimes he's the richest man in the world. Sometimes he's the second richest man in the world. They keep going up and down. But I ask myself, I'm an engineer. I could work for Bill Gates for Microsoft. I could make a good salary. What if Bill Gates offered me a very, very nice salary to work for him? Would that make me happy? No amount of money can make me happier than what I'm doing right now. It has been 19 years since I have officially had a paid employment. Because after I left teaching at graduate school, I decided to try for 1 year to go into the jungles of South America with my family and just to test God, try for 1 year. Is it possible to live in total dependence on God? The Bible says so. The Bible says, ask and it shall be given. The workman's worthy of his hire. Matthew 10. Matthew 6 says that don't worry about your food and clothing. It will be given to you. Just seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. I said, I wonder if it's true. So I tried it. And my experience is God always tells the truth. And I would never switch. There is no salary. There is no limit that anybody could pay me to make me switch my jobs right now. Only God himself ordering me to do that, I would obey. Otherwise, for life. There's a group of people down in Guyana, South America, young people. They are called MFLs. And I asked them. They're from England. The couple in charge is from England, and they work with a lot of young people in a school along the river, the river next to Suriname. And I asked them, what is MFLs? And they said, we've all signed a document as MFLs. Well, tell me, what is MFLs? MFLs means missionary for life. We will never change. We will never go back. We will never change profession. We will use all our skills and talents for life until Jesus comes. And so I said, sign me up. And I've preached and I've invited young people all around the world to become MFLs. I hope that you today accept to become an MFL. For life. There's no changing. You have launched on a path of special forces to rescue people from pain and death. And someday you will hear the words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. That is my prayer for you. And I thank each of you today for accompanying us in this beautiful ceremony of graduation. Thank you.